Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sack Race Reacts. This is part 2 on Tottenham, where we're discussing Jose Mourinho's future after he's been sacked by the club. I'm with Charlie from Betting Odds and Matt, the Tottenham fan. Charlie, can you first of all reel off the top 5 clubs where Jose Mourinho could go next, according to the latest odds by Paddy Power?
So yeah, Paddy Power have released some odds after Mourinho's been sacked from Tottenham. Just go through the betting. The favourite are the Portuguese national team. They're 11-2. Juventus, second favourite, 6-1. Porto next in the betting, 8-1. Any MLS team, 10-1. Celtic, 12-1. The England national team, 14-1, which absolutely stinks. PSG, 16-1. Any Chinese Super League team, 16-1. I mean, we did a tweet today about Mourinho earning a combined £93 million for being sacked. So he must be struggling with money, so maybe the Super League's for him. Inter Milan, 16-1. Dortmund, 16-1. Atletico Madrid, 20-1. And then if you go down the market, West Ham, 25-1. Newcastle, 25-1. Palace, 33-1. Everton, 50-1. And Arsenal, 66-1. I wanted to first ask Jack, I don't know how long the Portuguese manager's been in place. I think he's still in the job after winning them the Euros. Do you think that looks like something that's realistic, Mourinho getting the national team job?
I always thought it'd become a future England manager, but as you said, that does stink now. I can't see that one happening. If he wants to go into international football, his first choice would be Portugal, but he's not getting that job anytime soon. Fernando Santos has done such a good job there. I think he's been there for around 6 odd years. He won the Euros, of course, and the Nations League. And he's got such a talented squad at his disposal. They've got to be one of the favourites to retain the Euros this summer. And I think his contract lasts until 2024, and he's got the most wins of any Portugal manager. So if Mourinho does want this job, he's going to have to wait for a while. So I would pretty much rule out that, to be honest. Returning to the Premier League's the interesting one. It's got to be someone like an Everton, isn't it? Or West Ham. Like, he's not going to get a top 6 job. I wouldn't even say he could get the Leicester job if that came available. And West Ham fans would much prefer David Moyes at the moment. Everton, I just mentioned, Carlo Ancelotti's there. I can't really see any club going for him, so he might have to just chill out for a little bit. I don't know what Matt thinks about the Premier League. Could he return anytime soon?
On the point of Everton, I take a straight swap with them for Carlo Ancelotti, but people are saying, he's done at the top level, and you can understand that with, Spurs, of course, being the first team he hasn't won a trophy with, but I feel as though you can quite quickly excuse that when you look at the lack of investment from Daniel Levy to support Jose and allow him to build that squad. And with the likes of Everton, they've been massively active in the transfer market. I think spent over £500 million in the 4 years building up to the COVID pandemic. So definitely they enjoy investing in that squad. And I think if you put Jose in a team, obviously one of the elite clubs, maybe even that group of teams just below, maybe the group that you would put Spurs in, if he does get investment, I still think he's going to be successful, because when he builds that team that he wants, the team that he needs with his players, there's not a lot that can stop him once that really does get going. Will it be as likely and as kind of set in stone as it was in the past? I'd struggle to say that. But as for a return to the Premier League, I think there's some teams, quite a few teams, who wouldn't really look at him because of what's happened at Spurs. But if one does and they give him that money, I think they could be in for a nice Spurs.
So along those lines, do you think somewhere like Celtic then, he was 100-1. I think Charlie said he was around 10-12-1. They're building a new project. It's still a massive, I think it's a massive job. It's just whether Mourinho sees it the same way, because obviously they're not the elite level at the moment. But to Celtic, do you think, Charlie, that one could happen?
Absolutely no chance. I think Mourinho still lives in London. I think his family are quite settled. He'll be looking for a return for the Premier League. But I just wanted to ask Matt, for me, looking on the outside, I think Mourinho's finished. If you look at his win percentage at each club, it keeps on going down. I think the Amazon documentary was quite interesting, because I think that portrayed him in quite a good light. But can he manage the modern player? He will throw people under the bus easily. You see what happens with Gareth Bale. Every time I've seen Gareth Bale play, to me, I think he's been good. Do you still think Matt, he's a top level manager and deserves a top job?
I think he deserves another chance because as a Spurs fan, I can say don't judge someone's career after their time at Spurs, because Spurs in so many different things, in so many different ways, are an anomaly. And I think that's been epitomized now with the last 17 or so months under Jose. I think I've been trying to kind of put this into words for a while, but Daily Hotspur, a fantastic Spurs page on Twitter, kind of put it across in the best way that I've ever seen. And that Jose's tactics aren't the things that are outdated, because just for my own example, you can look at Diego Simeone in Spain, having Atletico Madrid right in that title race this season, but it's his man management that isn't going to work for him, because again, the way Daily Hotspur put it, it's not just footballing society, but almost society as a whole that has changed. If you look at where he's been successful in the past, with Inter Milan, with the likes of Javier Zanetti, with that Chelsea team, with the likes of John Terry, Frank Lampard and all that would give everything it took for the club. But with the way player power has taken over and the way everything in football has shifted in recent times, players, if they don't want to play for the manager, they don't have to, and the manager will be sacked. And that is the way it's gone. I think that's what cost Pochettino's job at Spurs. That project that they bought into so much, losing that Champions League final, almost felt as though it was a nice full stop at the end of that sentence. And the players were like, okay, well, let's not start a new one. Let's just wait till he can go. And that's why I'm saying if Mourinho gets that investment and he can build a team of Pierre-Emile Højbjergs or a team of Harry Kane's in terms of mentality, because you obviously can't get a team of him in ability. I think if he does get that, he can be successful again, because it's not a pretty style of football. It's not one that the fans will often buy into. But if those 11 players on the pitch know what they're fighting for and will give it to a man who has proven in the past that it is successful and it can work, I think the sky is the limit for Jose Mourinho. But again, it just begs the question, has player power taken over too much? And has football as a society and again, the power within it, has that changed too much for him? I think if he gets the investment and it doesn't work, we can answer that question. But I think it's too early to write him off.
So you mentioned Inter Milan, and that would be my best bet for this market, 16-1. I think now he needs a next job where he can get his stock back up. I think the Premier League could be too much of a boiling point. And again, we mentioned Conte in the previous video, but if he does go to Tottenham, I think Conte is quite an ambitious manager, and I would see him wanting to come back to the Premier League. If that Inter job comes back, they absolutely love him at Inter Milan after that historic treble. I think we mentioned the players crying for him after the game. That is my tip, Inter Milan. Jack, I don't know if you wanted to round off the video with what you think is the best shout for Jose Mourinho's next jobs and any thoughts on him as a manager.
I do like that Inter Milan shout, especially if Conte was to leave this summer. I know he's sort of previously spoken about his time in Italy. It was very successful, obviously, but really intense, and he struggled with the media. He didn't get on with them as well as he does in England, even if he does in England at the moment. But yeah, I do like that Inter shout. I do think Celtic's an interesting one to keep an eye on, especially what we were saying about a project. I think maybe he might just want to chill for a bit. Newcastle, I can't really see him going there. It's 25-1, or to Crystal Palace, which is 33-1. Anyway, MLS, probably far too soon to see him go. That's maybe in about 10 years, but I can't see him going to the MLS unless there's a huge pay packet. But as you said, he's probably got enough money. Or return to Portugal, Porto, if that job became available, back to where he had immense success with. But yeah, I just think maybe watch him just chill out for a bit. What about the World Cup 2022? I can't think of a country off the top of my head, but if he could manage there, Qatar, who knows? Something like that. I don't know what you think, Matt.
Yeah, I think he actually said earlier in the season, it's just typical Jose, still at Spurs, everything going well, and he was asked where he'd go afterwards, and he said the kind of joy and the thrill of a World Cup or European Championship is a step he does want to take in his career. I know maybe he could hold out and hope that Portugal job becomes available, but like he said, doesn't look likely to be there soon. But maybe the national areas where he wants to challenge himself next. Who knows? It's Jose. He could end up at Burton Albion for all we know.
No, that you won't actually. Jimmy Floyd is doing really well.
Unbelievable. He's doing so well.
Right, thanks for coming on, Charlie. Cheers as well, mate.
No worries.
Cheers, Jack.